Hello everybody. Today I am going to give you an origin story on me, Arthur Canoom McMaster. I wasn't born Arthur Canoom McMaster. I was born Robert Francis Sutton. From a Hazenstab and from this here valley, which I like to call Rabbit Slayer Valley. Most of these homes around here were owned by my family, the Hazenstabs. And the Sutton is from the south of London, but my Suttons were from Long Island, New York. So my grandfather has a house over here. The reason I like to call this Hazenstab Valley, which I used to spend a lot of time up there with my grandfather picking ginseng and blackberries and playing in the spring that's up there with that beautiful crisp spring water. I call it Rabbit Slayer Valley because my family for a long time believed that Hazenstab meant rabbit slayer. It's a German heritage, and they thought that Hazen meant rabbit and stab meant to stab or slay. So they incorrectly thought that the origin of their name is rabbit slayer. But in fact, it actually means hazel rod, which was an instrument used for judging people, and I think probably hitting the guilty over the head with the hazel rod. But right down here, let me hop up. That is my, that's my grandfather's house. And this used to be his farm. Now it's just a giant field of nothing, of grass. He had corn there and tomatoes and snap peas and green beans and squash and pumpkins and grapes. What else am I missing? So this is the edge of his property. Runs down there. And then I think that is called Dry Run. There's a stream there. Every once in a while it gets dry. Just like nowadays. But my mother and father got divorced when I was really young. I don't remember it. And they kept moving around. So this house was really my anchor. It's the house I consider to be closest to me. My grandfather built it by hand with some of his relatives. And they used to make fun of him because he wasn't a very good carpenter, apparently, and none of the angles lined up right. But, so that part of the house right here was an add-on. I really don't like the add-on. The garage is there. I don't know if that was original either. He was also known for his heavy-handing pruning. So that tree doesn't look very healthy, but I used to climb that tree as a kid, as a boy, with my cousins. My cousins lived in that house right there. And it's a very, very modest house. To be honest, it looks like shit right now. I think it's, my mother, she had a bedroom in the attic. They lived there their entire life. I mean, adult life. Right there, if you can, let's see. If you can see, is a well my grandfather dug by hand. So pretty cool. I have a very strong attachment to that house. When my grandfather was older, he took a face plant down the steps, and he broke his face really bad. He had Parkinson's disease, and my grandmother was losing her mind with dementia. So my grandfather went to the hospital with a busted up face. After my grandfather died, I came up from New Orleans, and the whole family was in that house. And I had been living in a minivan for a few years, traveling around the country painting. And I had no obligations and I had to quit cooking and baking because the pay was so terrible. And I remember the funeral. There's a distinct photo of the whole family right there lined up. All the cousins were there. And after the funeral, we came back to this little tiny house, and we were all in there. And my grandmother was freaking out. You know, she was like very, very, is demented the appropriate term? I don't know. She was freaking out. My mom tried to calm her down, and I don't know if my uncles tried to calm her down or not, but they couldn't calm her down. But I knelt before her and put my hands on her lap and asked my mom to calm down, and she did. And I thought, wow, I was like, I have magic powers. Ooh, I got her to calm down. So my grandmother wasn't going to live here alone. She couldn't take care of herself, and I offered to take care of her. I said, hey, I will watch my mom until she passes, which didn't, it was just a few years after that. And all I want is in exchange for the work that I do. You don't have to pay me, all I want is the house. I'll come, I'll wipe her butt, I'll feed her, and you can come and visit whenever you want, all day, every day, I don't care. No go. They said, my mom said, oh, we wouldn't want to do that to you. And I said, no, I don't think you understand. I want to do this. I don't want my grandmother to go to a home where there's strangers and, it's sterile and just have bad vibes. Even the best of them have it's just like a whole group of people waiting to die. It's just a bummer. And she liked this place, and there's a beautiful view. I thought it was a win-win. Win-win-win-win-win. Win-win-win-win-win. Just give me the house. Nope. What was the ultimate reason? Because first it was presented as I couldn't do it. Or no, it wasn't fair to me. And I said, oh, it's perfectly fair to me. And then it got to the point of no, you can't do it. And I said, well, why don't you just let me try to do it? I mean, if I do it a week and I can't do it, okay, well, sell the house and send her to a home. But they didn't let me try. So I lived another, I think, 8 years in my minivan. Traveled around the country, and they seemed to be all jealous of me for doing it. And yeah, it had its perks, but I was also pooping in a bucket. And I'll tell you, whenever you're uh-oh, there's no sidewalk here, no berm. So I'm just gonna wait until this car here passes. My cousins had a dog, Daisy. We tortured that dog. Not knowing, not on purpose. You ride a dog, right? Of course you ride a dog. So this is a big farm. I'm sorry, let's see. That's a big farm. Or it was corn. I think I'd grow bamboo there. Bamboo, hemp, something like that. Not a high labor crop, but more than just, hey, I hope they harvest the hay at least. That'd be a real waste if they didn't even harvest the hay. Anyway, my mom sold the house. It was like 22 years ago. And I asked her recently, I said, how much did you pay for that house? See? Freedom Township. And my mom doesn't remember. It's like, you don't remember? So they took all that money. They took all the money that they had saved, and they gave the kids some cash. I guess they took some, and they took the rest of it and gave it all to the old folks' home. And they took all the money. And they sold this house. Oh, there's another car coming. They sold this house to a guy who lives behind those trees. And the past year, I've gone to him a couple times, and I was like, hey, man, do you think you'd ever sell that house? And he's like, oh, no, I don't think I'd ever sell that house. I was like, oh, okay. And I talked to my family. My uncle, second cousin Joe lives right there. That was Uncle Tom's house. Aunt Marie. They were brother and sister with my grandmother. No incest or anything, but it was like the sister married the brother, you know. No incest, but just a tight family, let's say. So I went to this guy. I don't even know his name. He lives in this fucking house. He has like 8 properties. He bought it 22 years ago. I went online to try to find out how much he bought it for. And after 20 years, you have to pay $20 to find, it's public record. I could go to the courthouse or whatnot and ask them, but it's not that important to me because I'm poor and I don't have the money for it. Unless y'all donate, buy me a big cup of coffee and I'll buy that house and I'll grow bamboo for you. You'll get free bamboo, I promise. So I couldn't find out how much. I was like, oh my God, well, I don't have the money to pay $20 to find out how much, and I don't have any money anyway. So like, what the hell? So I got a bug up my butt because I was upset. I'm like, this guy in this house, he bought it and he's just left it empty. I think he had it rented out for like a year or two, and then it's just rotting there. It's just fucking this house, just rotting, just sitting there empty, just decaying. It's just so sickening, especially with the housing crisis that's happening. I mean, people are homeless and the house prices are like insanely high. And it's because of people, part of it, there's big corporations, but part of it are people like him who, they're just sitting on all this property empty, like it's a bank or something, like it's a lottery ticket. And they're waiting to cash out. It keeps getting higher. The jackpot keeps getting higher. When am I going to cash out, right? Like, make it rain. So there's my uncle, or cousin. He's older, so I keep feeling like I want to call him uncle, but he's just cousin. He grows, he's selling tomatoes there. He's never given me a free tomato, by the way. Not one free tomato. He's growing some corn. Looks like. Asparagus. I played in that barn as a kid. I loved it. I love playing in the barn. I feel so spoiled. I mean, I had, so spoiled. But not so. I mean, if you look at my other videos, man, I was tortured too. So it was like, really, I had like the best childhood and the worst childhood. $1 bundle side of barn. I don't know a bundle of what. Sorry for all the shakes. So anyway, 2 days ago, I rode my motorcycle here, parked in this guy's little driveway here, and walked up to him and his wife. They were, He has a giant garage up the street. He has all of these properties. Seems pretty wealthy. I mean, he has that special property in Rabbit Slayer Valley. So I went up. I was just curious. I don't have any money, but I just wanted to know, basically to kind of, tell my mom, like, hey, you sold that house for, I'm sure it was ridiculously low. I'm sure it was ridiculously low. Because they sold it quick to cash out. Yeah. If they would have asked me, I would have definitely at least left it on the market for, a year. Go high. Knock it down a little bit every once in a while. But no. They cashed out. They sold the fucking farm. So I walked up to this douchey motherfucker with a smile, of course. I'm polite. And I said, hi, you remember me? Because I had talked to him like 2 times. I'd be like, hey, come on. You gonna sell the house? No, I'm not gonna sell the house. You gonna sell the house? No, I'm not gonna sell. He told me, everybody wants to buy this house. Everybody comes up to me. I love that house. It has the walnut handrail and just handmade. It's just so great. Everybody wants this house. I'm not selling this house. I don't care. And so I said, hey, man, I tried to find out how much you bought the house for. Do you know how much? Oh, he's like, are you Hazenstab? And I said, yeah, I'm Hazenstab. Elizabeth? Are you Elizabeth's nephew? I said, no, I'm not Elizabeth's nephew. I told you both times I saw you, I'm Elizabeth's son. I'm Elizabeth's son. Oh, okay. Oh, you're Elizabeth's son. Okay. All right. I want to get this out of the fucking frame. I don't even want to see that man's home. And I said, so my mom doesn't even know how much she sold the house for. Do you know? And he smiled. Oh, I don't know. I don't know how much I paid. Was that over 20 years ago? You can't find out, huh? Oh, you got to go to the court. Oh, you got to pay money to find out. Oh, no. No. Everybody loves that house, though. It's my house. I said, oh, yeah. That's, so, you gonna sell it? Ever gonna sell it? I asked him the 3rd time, he said no. People change their minds. And he said, oh no, I'm not gonna sell it. And I said, really? You're never gonna sell it? I mean, what are you doing with it? It's empty. It's just sitting there. And he said, no, I'm never gonna sell it. I mean, maybe when I die, I'll sell it. I said, oh, maybe when you die. Oh, well, I can arrange that. Joke. They laughed. I laughed. It's like, over my dead body kind of thing. I was like, oh, over your dead body. Oh, that's how you're gonna, I see, over your dead body. All right, well. And we kept talking. And I was like, well, why won't you sell it? And they said, oh, well, if I die, it's my wife's gonna move in there. And I said, well, why? I mean, you have a house here. It looks like they're putting some new siding on there. They got a nice new heat pump. I mean, my Pap's house is falling apart because of neglect. It's blight. It's looking actually a little bit better now. It had a lot of blight on it earlier in the year. I said, well, why would your wife want to move there? I mean, it needs all this work. And they said, oh, well, this house wouldn't be good for her if I'm gone. And I'm like, well, what do you mean this house wouldn't be good for you? And like, oh, well, we want a ranch house for her if I die. And I said, a ranch house? I mean, there's no steps to this house. There's more steps to my grandfather's house. That doesn't make sense. And he just smiles. I'm never going to sell it. I'm never going to sell it. And I said, well, you're going to sell it eventually, aren't you? I mean, you just can't leave it empty forever. And they said, well, we're both going to have to die. And I said, oh, both of you are going to have to die. Okay, well, that's good to know. It's good information to have. And I said, no, well, really? Why aren't you going to sell the house? What is the reason? It's obvious you're lying, that it's not for your wife after you die to move in and redo the house. You love this house, it looks like. I mean, you have 8 properties. You could sell a couple properties and buy any house you want around here. any fucking house. So why my grandfather's house that he built with his own hands? Why? Why won't you sell it? We're just not. We're never going to sell it. And I said, oh, well, that's unfortunate. It looks like shit. And they said, it looks like shit. That's rude. And I said, well, it's true. You're letting it rot. And they said, oh, well, we don't like you anymore. Oh, really? You don't like me anymore? Like you ever liked me? Okay. All right. That's how you be? Well, here's my card. If you ever change your mind and if you ever want to sell the house, please call me first. And they said, we're not going to take your card. I said, oh, so you specifically won't sell it to me? I see. Okay. I threw my card on the ground and I went up here and I started my motorcycle up and I was really angry. Very, very, very angry. So I revved my bike. Oh, and I found out it has a limiter on it. So when the RPMs get up to 10,000, it cuts out the fuel injectors until the RPMs drop, and then it kicks them back on, and it drops it back off, it kicks it back on, drops off, and it does that. And it sounds like the devil. It sounds like the devil bike. It sounds like this. It's quite disturbing. So I just revved it like that, and I got on the bike, and I rode down the driveway, across the street, to my cousin Joe? Is that who it is? Cousin Joe? I don't know. That's his Silverado there. I think Cousin Joe has another car in the barn. Cousin Joe has a lot of money. He pretends like he doesn't, but he owns this giant. He owns like that mountain. He owned more property than my grandfather. Well, I mean, he inherited it. So, I mean, it's not like he worked for it or anything. Joe talks. He loves talking. He will not shut up. So I went over there and to Joe's tomato stand and put $1 underneath one of his tomato baskets and took a tomato and I started eating it. And he came out the front door. I was like, "Oh, Joe, hey, how you doing? I think I disturbed your neighbors." And he said, "Oh, I don't talk to them. They're not very nice." I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry anyway, you know. I know that they associate me with you, and I don't want any, bad blood between the two of you, seeing as you're next door, neighbors." And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it." I was like, "Oh, great." And I told him that I gave him $1 for the tomato because he won't give any tomatoes away. He's got to get the money for the tomatoes. And I started eating it. It was really good. Really good. And then I had a bite and it was rotten. I was like, "Oh man, this is a bad tomato, right?" I spit out the piece of tomato and he's like, "Oh, well, I'll give you your money back." I was like, "Don't worry about it. I mean, the rest of the tomato was really good." And he's like, "Oh, no. If you had a piece of rotten tomato, I'll give you your money back." It's like, "Okay, thank you." So we walked down to his tomato stand and he saw that I had put the $1 underneath the tomato basket that I stole the tomato out of. Not steal, I paid for it. Paid more, actually. Gave him more money than he was asking. And so we were talking and all of a sudden, like, the neighbors came over. I don't know what their name is. And they scared the hell out of me. I jumped. I was like, "Whoa, you scared me." And they looked really serious. And they're like, "Hey, you said you could arrange his death. And that's not cool." And I said, "I'm sorry. It was a joke. I'm just, I was just upset that you wouldn't tell me why you won't sell the house, even though I have an idea of why. Greed. You get like a pleasure of knowing that you're making another person suffer. You're causing, part of the housing crisis, and this pleases you because you're sadistic." I didn't tell him that. I was just like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man. No, it wasn't a threat. It was just a joke, Yeah, I'm sorry I left angry, And they said, and I looked at Joe and I said, did you hear that? Did you hear me apologize? Did you hear me say it was a joke? And Joe said, yeah, I heard you say that. I heard you say it was a joke. I said, good. Because, even though it was like a over my dead body, oh, I can arrange that. It's like the couple that were down here, the douchebag neighbors, they're like, this day and age, you can't say things like that. And I said, I'm sorry. I did say it and I was just upset. It wasn't a threat. It was a joke. And they said, well, if anything happens to my husband, we're going to report you. And I said, please do. Please report me if your husband gets cancer and dies, that I caused some kind of wizard shit to fucking kill him. And they're like, and I said I was sorry. And they said, well, we're going to call the cops. I don't even remember. So I was like, these people aren't going to fucking stop. And my cousin Joe, he's like, starts trying to change the subject. We're like, well, I had a good trip to Walmart, and down there at Walmart, they got those great deals at Walmart. And I was like, oh my God, I'm surrounded by the greediest, fucking shallowest people in the fucking world. And they wouldn't stop. They're like, you must apologize. I said, I did apologize. So I got down on my hands and knees and I started bowing to him, screaming really loud, I am sorry, I am sorry, I am sorry, I am sorry. And they kept trying to talk over me, trying to, I think humiliate me or do something, make me suck their dick. I don't know what the fuck they wanted me to do. I said I was sorry like fucking 6 times. So I kept screaming, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, screaming loud. Because they wouldn't stop. And finally my cousin Joe, he's like, get out of here, get, you get out of here, you get now, you get. So I was like, okay, see you later. And I walk up and I'm walking beside the 2 people and they're like, we're going to call the cops. And I said, you do call the cops. My father, Wayne Sutton, was a sheriff, Freedom Township. I know cops and the cops like me. Please do call the cops. And I got on my motorcycle and I rode away. And that's the end of the story. Let's see. 28 minutes. Okay, well, like and subscribe, right? Isn't that what you're supposed to say? Like, subscribe, donate, I don't know, share. God, why do I have so few viewers? Welcome to Rabbit Slayer Valley.